Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us yet again for Live at the Waterhole. And of course, what better way to start than with some elephants or an elephant bull up here in East Africa in Kenya at Old Donyo. Oh, this elephant seems very relaxed, probably because it doesn't have to share the waterhole with anyone else. A little bit of playing, wiggling the trunk back and forth. Oh, yes, spray yourself with some water too. Those are wonderful sounds. And as you know, with Live at the Waterhole, it's all about giving the animals center stage and giving us the time and space to really enjoy their movements, their sounds, and pay close attention to things that maybe we don't get the opportunity to do otherwise. The wrinkles in their skin, the color of the fur, or the feathers, all these wonderful small things. Because here at Live at the Waterhole, we take things slow. But as usual, we are live and interactive, so that means you can send through questions and comments. You can do that by heading over to our website and registering. You can also keep up with the conversation on Twitter using that hashtag WildEarth, or if you're with us on YouTube, please remember to use @FC to get the attention of the wonderful Jordan, who's sitting in the director's hot seat. And she will send through your questions to me. But as always, oh, it's me, Trishala, by the way. I think you would have seen it on your screen earlier. I'll be with you today and tomorrow, and then I'll hand over to some of my other colleagues. So I'm really looking forward to all the things we can see on the different cameras today and tomorrow. Get my African wildlife fix before I have to start doing lots of admin related things. I'm sure you all can relate to that. As lucky as we are to us as guides and naturalists and presenters, as lucky as we are working with African wildlife, we also have to do normal life things, unfortunately. So I'm going to make the best of today and tomorrow with all of you during Live at the Waterhole. As you know, I love to get your questions and your comments, but I also love to take moments where we can just listen and observe. And I like to draw your attention to littler things. Maybe here with this elephant, look at the way that the trunk can extend and contract. How the ears don't just move on a flat plane across, but they can also be picked up. Notice how those finger-like protrusions are so sensitive. As it moves it over the water and over the rocks and the mud, it seems to hover, almost as if it's sensing and being very careful about what it touches. Those are the things I like to observe during Live at the Waterhole. And I also love to hear these sounds. So let's take a moment to settle in, enjoy this elephant bull at Old Donyo, and see what else comes to the waterholes. A very, very itchy bull. Oh, wasn't that fantastic? I might even say that this is a very considerate elephant bull, giving some space to the zebras to come in and enjoy the waterhole too. I mean, I think this is the most sharing we've seen at this waterhole ever. Hopefully, the zebras will have a nice, calming drink too. Oh, I have a whole lot of hellos and some questions coming through. Gina, you say happy to be on board. I'm so glad that you're joining us today, Gina. Thank you. Oh, Catherine's here too. Catherine, you say you need some baby Ellie cuteness today for your soul, please. Let's see what we can do about that. I think my soul always wants some baby Ellie cuteness. Hopefully, we can get some of that in too. True beauty comes from within. You say good morning to everyone. Love, peace, and joy to all. I think this is the best place to spread all those wonderful things. When all of us as a community get to enjoy nature and also get to learn and become curious about it. Mercedes is here. You say, lovely to see the hole so full, isn't it? I was about to say, maybe, considering that there's a lot of water, the zebras won't need to dive right in, but I am obviously mistaken. The zebras want to get right in there. Ozzy, you say, hi, Trishala. Great to hear your voice. It's great for you to join us too. Thank you. JD here, you say good morning from the Canadian Rockies. Nice, JD. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Catherine, you say we were talking about the elephant trunk and the movement, and we were just looking at all the wonderful smaller things that we could observe about the elephant earlier. And Catherine, you say that they are so good with those tips, those finger like protrusions, that very dexterous end of the elephant's trunk, which is very, very sensitive to temperature, to pressure, to pain. And you say they're so good with them, you've actually seen Ellie's open water taps with those finger like protrusions. That does not surprise me at all. My goodness, did you see that? The zebra in front gave a little nip to the zebra's bottom behind it. Now, that's not very nice. And biting, I mean, across the animal kingdom, if you go on biting another animal's butt, you can be sure that that's going to cause a couple problems. Now, as we've said before here at Old Donyo, not just at Old Donyo, another area that we see lots of zebras is Tau. And just because we're seeing lots of zebras doesn't mean it's all the same herd. These are multiple herds coming to the resource. So that little nipping off the butt that we saw earlier was probably a zebra that was not from this herd and is trying to chase them away. And then we saw a little bit of aggression or reactivity from the zebras, and then it kind of looked like a set left and a new set came in, but then the set that was leaving kind of came in the back as well and are maybe just waiting their turn again. It can never just be peaceful with zebras. There's always something happening. And we'll talk a little bit more about their temperament in a moment, but I'm loving the visuals here. We have all the zebras together. You can really see why the creative collective noun for zebras is a dazzle. You're not quite sure where one zebra starts and the next one ends. There's a lot to look at and a lot to listen to here. So I'm going to take a moment. Let's absorb into this situation and we'll chat a little bit more about zebra temperament and how people tried to domesticate them and tried to ride them, but it didn't work out. Every time I want to start talking again, the zebras go a little crazy, which is fantastic. Did you see that time where everyone looked like they were really settled into the water and then suddenly they got spooked? It's so mesmerizing. Your eyes really don't know where to look. There's so much happening. And they all react so strongly, and now they're piling in there like sardines. Speaking of sardines, Stephanie Carroll, you say that your son Sky wants to know if there are fish in the water. Hi Sky, thank you for sending us a question. Now there shouldn't be any fish in this water, Sky. But that doesn't mean they aren't, or it's not possible that there are fish. So there's two things we have to think about. One, this waterhole has lots of... Oh, we gotta fight, everyone. We gotta fight. Sorry, Sky. Let's just wait for them to settle down, and then I'll return to your question. There we go. So because lots of animals, as you can see right now, move through the water a lot, it's not really good for fish. Fish will constantly be being thrown out of the water, trampled. It wouldn't be a good habitat for fish. And it's also important to think about how fish end up in pans like this. So this pan is not connected to a stream or a river, or even if we think about dams, they're not connected to other water. So how do the fish end up there in the first place? Now, fish eggs can be really sticky on the outside. And as animals, particularly birds, as they move through fishing in dams and ponds and pans, maybe some of those fish eggs get stuck on them. And then they fly off to another pan, and the eggs can be dropped off there. Now, another way it can happen is during a rainy season when there's an overflow at a dam or a pan. That could really help small fish move from one puddle to another. So that's why I say it's not impossible that there would be fish in here, but it's not a good habitat. Look at all the animals here. And also, we don't see a lot of birds coming to hunt here. So Sky, I would say there are no fish in this waterhole. Hudson, you say you don't think you've ever seen such a big dazzle here before. It's lovely. It is lovely. And there's just so much going on. So much sound, so much sight. Giraffe in the middle of it all. Even the giraffe, I feel, is not sure what's going on. Sally, you say a brave giraffe. Definitely a brave giraffe. I wonder how well the giraffe is able to identify specific zebras, considering how tightly they're all packed here. Mindy, absolutely. Complete invasion of the prison ponies. They must have broken out of prison and now heading to their favorite resource. Now, Bianca, you had an interesting question. You wanted to know, will individuals from different herds show more aggression towards each other than they would the members of their own herd? 100%. So For the stallion, who is the one in charge, in his herd, he's definitely going to be kinder to his mares and his foals. And he's not going to be as kind, definitely, to members of other herds. But even so, in general, zebras are aggressive. I don't say that for many animals, but they have a pretty reactive attitude. They react quickly and forcefully. And sometimes even to members of their own herd, especially if they're trying to not quite discipline, but keep everyone in line. They can be aggressive as well, internally. But most often that aggression is reserved for defending the herd from other zebras as well as from predators. Now, I said I was going to tell you about zebras and horses and people trying to domesticate zebras. So when you think about horses, I mean, humans have domesticated or had a relationship with horses in an intimate relationship, one that involves keeping, riding, and domesticating horses for, I think, 5,500 years. So a long, long time. And if you think about zebras, zebras and horses are both equids. Why wasn't the same done in Africa for zebras? Now, it's really interesting because they are very similar, but we have evolved alongside zebras in Africa for a long, long time. And humans would have most likely hunted zebras. So zebras would have a natural, instinctive fear of these upright walking creatures. So that's the first thing that's going to be a problem if you try to approach a zebra. It already thinks that you're a threat. And that's something that horses didn't have. Horses didn't evolve alongside humans, early humans even, not just Homo sapiens. Horses didn't evolve alongside them. So when horses were introduced to us, we weren't hunting them. They didn't have an innate fear and didn't see us as a threat. But in the Victorian era, when coming to Africa and colonizing Africa and all of those sorts of things was happening quite a lot, and they had recognized that the horses that they had brought to Africa were not doing very well because the horses were often dying, and they were susceptible to tsetse flies, and tsetse flies carry African sleeping sickness, or trypanosomiasis, and that can be deadly both for humans and for animals. Now, African wildlife is more resistant to the disease, and especially zebras are. And so Victorian era colonizers were coming in, and when they saw that their horses are dying, but hey, zebras kind of look like horses, and they're not dying, they attempted to tame them. It didn't go very well. I think even a couple of zebras were brought back to England. There were a few success cases, but those were complete outliers. Apart from that, zebras have really thick necks, so it's difficult to harness them. They also have a smaller body compared to a horse, that they can't take the same load. But more than any of that, it was their temperament. And that temperament shows even now. And speaking of the sleeping sickness, or the tsetse flies that carry that sleeping sickness, it's one of the theories as to why zebra stripes have come to be the way they are. And I suppose is a really, again, a nice way to understand that collective noun, dazzle of zebras. It is thought, and this is just a theory, nobody really knows what the point of the stripes are. Most likely it's a combination of a couple different things. One, predator confusion. Two, potentially creating microclimates on the body of the zebra, so thermoregulation. And three, potentially a way to make sure that they don't get pests like tsetse flies, particularly deadly pests, landing on them. That contrast can be confusing for insects that want to land on something. Yes, Catherine, zebras and horses can be domesticated. I think they're called a zorse. But it is very rare. But yes, they can be crossbred and ridden. But that's 100% a result of the temperament of horses. Now imagine you're a zebra. You have to constantly defend yourself against large predators, not only of the felid kind, but also humans that were hunting you 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago. You constantly have had to put up with that. So, I mean, I'd probably be pretty defensive too. And that attitude is working out for them. It helps them to stay alert. And all that really matters in the wild is whether any of your attributes, whether they are physical, whether they are to do with your temperament or behavioral, all that matters is, does it help you survive? And at the very least, does it not hinder your survival? And I think that this temperament is working out just fine for zebras. Sir 50, it's nice to hear your name. You say zebras are very interesting animals. They really are. They have lots of little adaptations and features that make them really, really interesting once you get into it. Mercedes, you say prison ponies or punk rock ponies. I like that. I like punk rock ponies. I could see them with like a bright pink something. Oh, goodness me. That zebra kicked the other one in the neck. Just almost, well, what at least appeared to us as for nothing. But who knows? Maybe he's trying to steal A mare from somebody else? Maybe it is a mare that's getting stolen. Wow, can you see this mist rolling through? Catherine, that's really interesting, and that's also something I've come across as well. You say that on your horses, you put zebra striped blankets on them, and it works perfectly against horseflies. It makes a big difference compared to the plain colored blankets. I think that is such good evidence in support of the coat color, the contrast, and the stripes being effective against pests. Roland Taylor, you'd like to know, how do zebras tell each other apart or tell each other's herds apart? Is it through smell? So it'll be a combination of things. Smell is a really obvious one, but since we know that a lot of uh, biological effort and evolutionary energy has gone in to the coat of a zebra, visual aids will be important to them. Now, every single zebra has a unique pattern, like a fingerprint. And I suppose just like you would know who lives in your house, you would know your family and you'd be able to recognize them anywhere, even if they're amongst other people. Zebras would be able to recognize their herd members even when other herds are around. And herds are not big. Herds, I mean, on average, herds are about 5, 7 individuals. They're not huge because remember, it's got to be a sustainable amount that that stallion can keep, because he's going to constantly get competition from other stallions that want to come in and steal his mares. So it can't be too huge, because if he's suddenly keeping 20 different mares, he's going to lose them. So it's important that he has an amount that he can actually have territory over. They might even be able to recognize individuals' calls, but we know that they don't contact call. When they call, they make that yip 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 that you've been hearing in the distance. We usually hear that when they're feeling distressed or excited, not necessarily to contact call. So I would say recognition, there it goes. Recognizing their herd and particular individuals come down to visual cues and smell. Oh, it's Wonton! Wonton has made an appearance. And that's how it is when Wonton comes through. Look at those tusks. He is absolutely magnificent. Lenny, you had an interesting question. It's something that I've observed as well. You were asking, oh, here comes another. You were asking, why do we only see male elephants here and not breeding herds? It's something that we've discussed a lot, and it's something I've thought about a lot seeing or watching this camera. I mean, I should first say that we have seen breeding herds here at El Doño. We just don't see them a lot. And it's a strange thing. We most often see elephant bulls. Now, it might just be because of the position of the waterhole, and maybe it's an area where lots of elephant bulls hang out. And perhaps because of that, it's an area that many breeding herds avoid. But we have certainly seen breeding herds here, but definitely far more bachelor herds and elephant bulls. We've also seen quite large bachelor herds here, and that makes me think that this is a spot that they particularly like. Yeah, Wonton is doing that thing with his trunk again. Now, why I find it interesting that he makes this movement with his trunk is that, I mean, I've seen this movement with his trunk, with the movement he's doing with his trunk. I've seen it with other elephants plenty of times, but usually it's just that bottom bit that they wiggle around like this. Wonton wiggles around about half of his trunk in that same way, which is not something I usually see. Now, we do know, according to Great Plains Conservation and Big Life, that he does have, I think as of about last month or something, when they did an assessment on Wonton, he does have a new crack in one of his tusks. Probably that one that we saw that was bleeding, the one on our left, Wonton's right tusk, the shorter tusk. And at first I thought that the wiggling of his trunk might be some discomfort. Oh, zebras are doing zebra things over on that side. But now, so the wiggling of his trunk now almost seemed like he was using it as a bit of an intimidation tactic on the other bull as he kind of pushed him round the waterhole. So it might just be a personality thing. I know some of you were saying that you had witnessed Wonton do this movement with his trunk even a couple years back, and we thought that perhaps the tusk injuries that he's been having could be reoccurring injuries. Look how he's putting his trunk right up into the fold there by his tusk. To me, it indicates that he's feeling a level of discomfort and pain. It's kind of like the way that you would finger around an area where you have a toothache. It's sort of a really bad thing, isn't it? Because you kind of want to touch to figure out what's happening and where your pain is coming from and which parts are sensitive. But at the same time, you don't want to touch it, but you end up touching it. Maybe it's a similar thing. And you know, sometimes when you are in pain, maybe you fling your wrists around a little bit or you do a little dance in frustration. I have a feeling that the movement and a way to deal with some discomfort and pain. Tristan, you have a really interesting question too. You would like to know, do we get elephants with odd features like larger ears or, awkward looking ears or awkward looking feet or something like that, like humans do? And I think that's really interesting because those differences in individual physiology, at least outwardly, you'll see it is detectable across every animal, as in it's measurable. We can measure the distance between elephants' eyes and know that there's a difference between this elephant's size of the forehead and another elephant's size of the forehead. But to our human eyes, if we're not taking measurements, to our human eyes, we cannot detect that. Everything about our bodies, from the shape of our ears to the way that our eyes take in information and our brains process it, all have to do with how well we can live in the world with other humans. So we are not built to be able to detect those types of differences in features of other animals because it's of no use to us. So for us, all elephants look the same, all zebras look the same. Yes, there might be some variations in tusk length, in zebra pattern, in the colors of our pets, their coats. But those other subtler differences, the size of their nose, the ears, the length of their legs, size of the tail, thickness of the tail, those things that we can so easily perceive in humans, I mean the human version of those characteristics because we don't have tails, we can detect that so easily with humans because it matters. Now amongst elephants, I'm sure they're able to detect those little things because it means something to them. It might be how they are able to know different individuals. So it's a really interesting question, Tristan, because it speaks so well to the fact that we are the way we are so that we can thrive within our human community. Because social aspects of our lives are directly linked to our survival. It matters. So this is one tusk, who's one ton's companion. They're often seen together. I always feel like they have each other's backs. And this poor elephant on the left, I feel might be getting a little bullied. But I suppose we all have to know our place, especially in the wild. And there's only one way to know that, and that's by interacting with others. And that's also why bachelor groups are so important. And again, comes back again to what we were talking about with Tristan's question. Being able to detect little differences in individuals. Maybe this elephant on the left has a forehead they don't particularly like. We don't know. Now, while that's unlikely, it's more likely that he's at the waterhole and he's behaving a little bit like he owns it when he clearly doesn't, because One Ton wants to show that he owns this space. And he only shares it with a select few. But that doesn't mean that this elephant on the left won't be able to be part of One Ton's group. He just has to know his place first. Sandy, you're very happy to see both one ton and one tusk. It's always a good day and live at the waterhole where we get to see the both of them. You know, Quinn, I was thinking the same. Or I was watching One Tusk. So Quinn is saying, I wonder if One Tusk is picky about who he includes in his group. Maybe because when One Ton is at the waterhole, he doesn't seem as defensive and reactive as when One Tusk is around too. I mean, maybe he just feels a little extra bravado, a little bit extra macho when his friend is around. We all know that feeling. So maybe that's what's happening, but it could be. We don't know. But now One Tusk seems very tolerant of the bull on the left, and I'm sure they're engaging in quite a few discussions. But discussions don't sort out any type of dominance hierarchy. The way that's going to be sorted out is with displays. Now, one tusk only having a single tusk means that he's not going to perform as well as other elephants in battles. He'll only have really one tusk to get locked in with. It would be really interesting to see how he engages if he has to. But perhaps him being around one ton a lot means that he doesn't have to take part in many sparring events. Caden, you say that one ton's tusks are really something to behold. They really are. Now, a couple days ago, it might have actually been maybe last week sometime, somebody was asking about One Ton's name and how he got that name. Now, One Ton seems to have walked away at this point. And so is everyone else. Thank you, Elise. But apparently One Ton was named by Richard Bonham. So Richard Bonham is part of Big Life Foundation, and they do a lot of research on the elephants in this area, and they've known One Ton for a long time. And apparently he's got a bit of a racing past. Richard, that is, not One Ton. Well, I suppose One Ton too. But Richard had a racing past, as in he used to race vehicles, and he would get his cars up to about 100 kilometers per hour. I'm not sure how that constitutes racing because the speed limit in South Africa is 120 kilometers per hour. But maybe he meant on dirt roads, which is quite a feat. Anyway, he used to call that a one ton. And when they had first met One Ton the elephant, he used to chase a lot of animals and chase them fast. So they kind of named him after Richard and his ability to take his vehicles to 100 kilometers per hour, I'm assuming, on dirt roads. Now, One Ton definitely doesn't weigh 1 ton. He weighs a lot more than that. He's a big bull. He's lost a bit of condition recently. But he probably weighs about 5 or 6 tons. With the inclusion of his tusks, I'm sure he's quite a big bull. And he's considered a super tusker, which means, here he comes, which means that his individual tusks weigh at least 45 kgs. I would say that his tusks weigh more than that, especially the left tusk of his, which is very long. I would say that weighs more than 45 kgs, but can you imagine? I mean, that's not a whole lot more than I weigh, and that's just one tusk of an elephant. So he's considered a super tusker, and that right tusk of his, which is shorter, that is a result of, or at least anecdotally, I heard that it's a result of territorial dispute. Not really a territorial dispute as in because elephants don't hold land-based territories, but they do display and have a kind of dominance hierarchy in an area. It's not linear, it's not very well segmented, but there is a dominance hierarchy in an area, however loose it may be. And so an interaction with another bull is what broke his right tusk, at least from what I heard in about 2011. Now, from what we've learned about tusks and the vascularization of tusks and the nerves and things like that in them, we know that the pulp extends that first third of the tusk closest to the face. And so chipping and breaking the end of the tusk for one ton wouldn't really have caused him pain, but would have caused him discomfort. But the injuries he's now sustaining with his tusks seem to be much closer to the face, which is probably why we're seeing him touch the area and wiggle his trunk about a lot. Julia, you say a broken tusk sounds so painful. Well, if an elephant breaks the distal 2/3 of the tusk, so the end of the tusk, it'll be the same as us chipping a tooth. So pretty superficial, not getting into the pulp. But once that break extends even further down the tusk, closer to the mouth, that's when we start to get into the blood vessels and the nerves, and that's when it starts to hurt. Even still, elephants don't seem to react very strongly. At least they don't show it. That doesn't mean that they're not in pain. They just don't show it very much, even when they break a tusk close to the pulp. But if they sustain injuries that are in the mouth where the tusk actually slots in, like the tusk socket in the jaw, that's when things get really painful. I mean, that's equivalent of us breaking our tooth or sustaining an injury to a tooth that extends towards the root and the actual socket of the tooth in our jaw. So super painful. But Wonton seems to be doing fine despite his recent tusk injuries too. Hopefully he will heal up well. Like I said before, he had an injury to his neck that had to be treated earlier this year. Maybe it's that interaction that caused his tusk injuries too. So despite those, he's still doing very well and seems to be dominant in the area. Moana, you are right. Old Donyo is the gift that just keeps on giving. Today, and I would say every other day too. We haven't even moved from this waterhole. So much has gone on. And Mega Man, you are absolutely right. You say breeding herds usually tend to drink at Old Donyo at night, where they aren't disturbed by the bulls. Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, now when I think about it, whenever I've seen clips of breeding herds at El Doño, it's almost always been in infrared, which means it's at night. I kind of imagine it if you think about your university days, and perhaps like me, you were not okay. All right, we're back now down to Nkoro. Well, Daniel just needs a little TLC, and perhaps it stopped me in time before I revealed too much about my university days. But I suppose that coming to drink at the waterhole in the evening when the boys are not around is just always easier. Kind of like not going to the station at a certain time of the day when you know that all the boys from university are hanging out there. So you rather just wait and then come back when it's peaceful. So you don't have to be harassed, you know? Oh, this is very interesting. The elephants are quite upset about something, and I don't think it's the hippo that's in the water. This hippo is not in great condition. We've seen him in this water before, but something is really making those elephants a bit upset. Now, what sometimes happens, well, obviously it's a breeding herd, so they're going to be more reactive to anything that they perceive as a threat, even if they're not sure about it, because you'd rather be safe than sorry. But sometimes in a frenzy, they can displace their aggression. So maybe they've smelt a predator, they've got angry about it, but the hippo moves at the same time. The hippo is the unfamiliar thing. They're focusing on the herd, and then suddenly they can direct their aggression towards the hippo. But now everything seems absolutely fine. We've got a baby Ellie enjoying itself, almost completely flattened. Catherine, you were waiting for this, weren't you? Some nice baby Ellie cuteness. Now the sound is a little buzzy here. Let's see if I can chat to Jordan and see what we can do about it. We've just turned it down a little bit, so at least we don't get that buzz, but we can still enjoy the elephants having a nice mud bathe in the area. Thank goodness they were nice to the hippo. This hippo does not look in good condition, and I always feel bad for it. But this mud looks perfect. Now, if that hippo moves, I think everyone will get a fright. But he's keeping a nice low profile, taking it easy. The elephants, oh, there we go. It always surprises me. Elephants come to a waterhole, they see a hippo, but the hippo doesn't move, they're fine. And then when the hippo does move, they all look super surprised. Hudson, you say, could this hippo just be old? Yes, absolutely. Losing condition is very much linked to age. There are other things that will make an animal lose condition, like injury, lack of resource, things like that. But the most common way we lose condition is with age. Hippos can live for quite some time. 30, 40 years in the wild, in captivity, maybe even up to 50 years. And I can't say I've seen very many hippo carcasses in the Sabi Sand, which is where Nkoro is. So I think that there's a lot of hippos that are pretty old or aging in the area. Jordan says that this elephant is saying, "Look, Mom, I'm on TV. Can you see me?" I agree. That was very sweet. Oh, now we've got the little ones busy moving around in all this nice mud. This is perfect. Oh, yes, here we go. Elephant calves starting to lose it. That's my favorite type of elephant calf, when the excitement is just way too much. You've drank your water, everyone you trust and love is around you, you're nice and muddy, and now you don't know what to do with yourself, so you roll around. Maybe you fight with some other elephants, maybe you chase some birds. I love it when they get the zoomies. Shame. This baby is having a little bit of a tough time. It's taken a tumble or two, struggling to get up. There we go. You made it. Oh, it's so good to watch little elephants. I feel like everyone here at this waterhole, or all the elephants at least, are kind of really high energy. It started off at the beginning when we arrived here and they were at the waterhole and there was a whole lot of commotion, but then it settled down. They felt a little safer, and now that same kind of, I don't know, adrenaline or energy is carrying through into a whole lot of play. Now, you know, this is all fun and games until someone's trunk gets stepped on or ear gets stepped on, and I've seen that happen before, and then it's just screams and running and comfort, and all the older individuals in the herd will come through and try to figure out what's wrong, is everyone okay, and they'll touch the trunks onto the little babies to check them, and then they sort of get disciplined in the sense that they'll be pulled away and back to their mum's side. Mindy, you say to you there is nothing worse than mouth pain. I agree with you. Mouth pain is the worst. Obviously, we're talking about broken tusks, and tusks are modified incisor teeth. So they come out of the elephant's jaw just like a tooth would. Well, not necessarily how elephant teeth do, because they come in a more conveyor belt fashion. But the tusks emerge in the same way as our teeth do. They erupt from the gum line. And so when they break a tusk, they're essentially breaking a tooth. And when it comes to us and we break a tooth that manages to, get into that pulp, oh my goodness, it is awful. And teeth pain, it extends from the tooth to the entire mouth and the jaw, and then like all the nerves that feed into that area, your mandibular nerve, your trigeminal nerve, all of those areas around your head, the nerves close to your jaw, it's like everything is on fire. I agree, Mindy, it is the worst. And you also said that you had a broken arm and you would still take that pain over mouth pain. I agree with you. I agree with you. I have terrible, terrible jaw-related pain every couple years or so. I haven't had it in a long time, which is very nice. But I broke my foot. When was it? Like 2018, 2019. And I would take that pain no problem over the trigeminal neuralgia pain on the side of the head. I'd take that any day. I think it would be quite a relief for an elephant to see an area like this where there's a nice tall bank and you can rest your body on it. Now, elephants do or can sleep lying down. You see it most often in younger elephants. With older elephants, you don't see it as much, but that has more to do with the fact that getting your big body, your several ton body up from a horizontal position takes a lot of effort. But adults will also sleep lying down. if they can find the good spot for it. And a good spot for that means that it's something with a little bit of an incline. So they're not completely flat and they can easily lift their bodies up afterwards. But finding a bank like this, I think, is fantastic to just lean your body against. Or if you're a little calf, perhaps it's a good place to try and climb. But I wouldn't be putting my trunk so close to the feet of other elephants. And off they go. Look at those little ones. They look so fast when they're running away like that with their little legs. Everyone's off. Everyone's still not 100%. Still seeing a few stiff tails. But the youngsters seem to be most upset. Perhaps they just didn't want to leave the waterhole. But off they run. Anyway, we will keep an eye out on this Nkoro cam. But for now, let's head over to Rosie's, where there are, you guessed it, more elephants. Oh, I love this. The elephants come so close to the camera, we can hear them so well. And not only the sound of them drinking, but every time they flap their ears, you'll be able to hear the ears hitting the body. So many wonderful things to pay attention to. These are some wonderful close ups of this elephant as it drinks, and also the skin. And you can see the wrinkles, especially how they're different, like the forehead compared to the top of the head and kind of the neck area and the side of the body. All of those wrinkles are different, and they're so important for an elephant. The more wrinkles increases its surface area, and that means that all the moisture that they throw onto themselves can get stuck into those wrinkles and can prolong them feeling cool. Okay, now our elephant has moved off here at Rosie's Pan, so let's head back up to East Africa, to Kenya, and head over to Oldonyo. The Great Elephant Standoff of Oldonyo. There's a standoff happening between the elephants at the waterhole and the zebra at the back. Oh, it's always entertaining. Where is Jive Bunny today? Yesterday, Jive Bunny was saying it's like a soap opera at Oldonyo with the different animals wanting to drink and the elephants just monopolizing the waterhole. From lovely close-ups at Rosie's Pan to some really nice ones here too. Oh, Jive Bunny, you are here! You're trying to get your Australian sister into the chat here and on drives. Nice! Recruit, Jive Bunny, recruit! I always try to get my parents to watch and listen as well, but they also live in Australia, so the time difference is not the best for them. Oh, this is a really nice close-up of that area where the tusk would come out of. See that flap of skin? I wonder what the condition of that area underneath the flap of skin is like. I mean, this elephant looks totally healthy. It's just that its tusk is missing. It almost looks like the tusk fell out. It doesn't look like it was born like this because the shape of the skin looks very much like it once had a tusk in it. Now, something like an infection or an abscess could cause the tusk to fall out. Sometimes it pays to have a good close look like this to see if it's actually broken very close to the face, to the skin there, or whether it's actually totally fallen out. I don't see a break. Oh, I love it when we have Ellie close-ups like this and there's lots of Ellies and it looks so dramatic. Those were absolutely stunning. Stunning close ups of that elephant. Well done, Nadine. Nadine has now taken over from Jordan in the director's hot seat. She's giving us some excellent views of those elephants, and now an equally excellent close up of the zebra and these oxpeckers. Hanging about, doing her thing. Got a juvenile at the top there. You can see it doesn't have the bright coloration just yet. One Ton looks like he was getting a little sleepy there when he had his trunk rolled up and resting on his tusk. That zebra got a little bit scared. Oh, One Ton looks a little upset. These zebras, you don't want to be on the receiving end of those tusk zebras. There's always so much sound here at Old Donyo. It's difficult to find a gap to actually speak to you all, but Live at the Waterhole is about giving the animals center stage, so I don't mind being quiet at all, and I'll continue to be quiet now since there's a lot of noise. Well, I think we can all safely say that we wouldn't want to be a zebra at the El Doño waterhole. It feels like the elephants and the zebras have some kind of rivalry. I mean, even when the elephants chase the zebras away, they take a few steps back and then they come back. Like, I would want them to just hang back, stay at the tree line, wait for the elephants to be done, but no. The zebras want to come in and they want to drink and they want to do it now. Hi, Sean. You wanted to know a little bit more about whether one ton's tusk will grow back? No, the tusks won't grow back. Tusks are teeth, so just like our teeth, if they are broken, they won't grow back. So any injury they sustain to a tusk is going to stay that way for life. But elephants are very good at adapting. And Gavin, you were wondering why we don't ever see breeding herds at El Doño? Well, a little earlier we were discussing that as well. And you do actually get breeding herds at El Doño. They're just not often seen. And when they are seen, they're usually seen at night. Now, I think they just try to avoid the elephant bulls. It's very busy during the day. And so to avoid all of that, they prefer to come through at night. But we definitely do see a lot of elephant bulls in bachelor herds. Breeding herds, not as much, but they are here and they prefer to come through at night. Anyway, everyone, it's time for me to say goodbye and hand all of you over to Steve for On Safari. I hope that you will have a fantastic time out in the African bush, live and enjoying yourself. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, welcome to the tent here. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve on what is a very warm afternoon in our winter. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Panda on camera, and this is On Safari.